what does gutsy mean to you?
Oh my God. Gutsy is doing the thing. Laura, you said it. It's doing the damn thing. It's taking the supplements if that's the next right thing for your health. It's recording the podcast. If you know you're here to change lives with your podcast, it's sitting down to do that. That is the thing that takes the most guts because we confront ourselves, all the lies, all the limiting beliefs, all the fears. And we realize, like Eleanor Roosevelt so beautifully said, you must do the thing you think you cannot do. And you can and you will.
Welcome to the Gutsy Podcast, the show where you learn how to own what you actually want and shift the mind junk that's been holding you back. I'm LauraAura, keynote speaker, coach, and your guide to help you get clarity, build confidence, and make the gutsy moves that change your life. Each week, I'm going to help you simplify things by teaching you how to get out of your head while stepping into action. This way you can achieve all those life shifts that you've been overthinking. Your desire, that drives you. But gutsy, that's what gets it done. If you've been sitting on a book idea or feeling the pull to share your story in a bigger way, but you keep circling it instead of actually starting to write it, this episode is for you. Writing a book is more than about getting words on a page. It's about permission, visibility. It's about deciding what you have to say actually matters. Today, I'm joined by Sara Connell, and we're getting into what it really looks like to write and publish a book that aligns with who you are and where you're going, not just something that you check off of a list. We talk about the emotional side of writing, the resistance that shows up when you're stepping into a bigger version of yourself, and what it takes to actually follow through on something this meaningful. Not to mention how writing a book can expand your voice, your impact, and the opportunities available to you in ways that you might not even be considering yet. If there's a part of you that keeps thinking, I should write a book, this is your reminder that it's not random and it's time. Sara is a 5-time best-selling author and the founder of Thought Leader Academy, where she helps coaches, experts, and entrepreneurs scale impact and create 6 to 7 figures by becoming best-selling authors and in-demand TEDx speakers. She's been featured in Oprah, The New York Times, Good Morning America, Today, Forbes, Entrepreneur, and of course, TEDx. And get this, she has a 100% success rate. Every author who has completed her program has finished and published their book, many of which went on to become bestsellers. And out of all the people that have done her TEDx training, 100% of those people have done a TEDx talk. Sara knows what she's doing. Let's get into it. Hey, Sara, welcome to the Gutsy Podcast.
I'm thrilled to be here.
Me too. We're talking about writing a book today, friend.
Let's do it.
Between myself and just so many of the women in my world and in my orbit, there's this like, I want to write a book. How do I write a book? It's exciting and daunting. And I know you're living this every single day. So I'm stoked that you're here to dig into this with us.
I'm really excited because it's sort of, I would say, an obsession. I think that's a fair word, especially for women to be writing books. And we can talk about why I think that's extra important. And you could just sort of say, the woman with the pen has the power. So women writing books, we teach books that start movements, right? Not just writing a book, but really it's about the greater movement that we're here to lead and get to lead. And the book as like the flag in the ground for that movement. And I think it is so crucially important at a time when, despite all the advances, all of the years that have gone by, women are still vastly underrepresented in terms of published work and published material. And now with AI being a whole thing, which we can also talk about, we have to think about the AI is drawing from what's been published, right? Whether that's written form in social, written form in the web, written form in books, the AI can only draw. And so if we're not contributing to that knowledge base and it's overrepresented with maybe very specific groups, as we'll say, that have been represented throughout history as the people, having the most publications and the most like work to add to that database. It is of massive importance. I feel like this is sort of my, right now of the moment mission to make sure that we are representing a diverse population of voices in that knowledge base.
So good. Yeah, I want to dig into that for sure, because I know that's a big question and it's got a lot of nuances to it. So Tell me first, how did you get into this? I know
Yes.
you had a bit of an experience that changed the trajectory for you. So what's that story like?
It did. So I did want to be, I was a kid that loved to read. I wanted to write. Most of the people I work with do not have that experience. They're experts at what they do. They're, coaches or entrepreneurs, really incredible, masterful, individuals and leaders. And they're really writing a book to share their expertise, their methodology, their story with the world. And I really wanted to write. I wrote in journals and, I really wanted to be a writer, but I also watched a lot of movies and read books in which all the kids that grew up to be writers were somehow selected. Like that was the script I picked up unconsciously. Like a teacher took you aside and said, you're special. And they gave you special books to read and told you you're going to be a writer. It happens like that in the movies and in the books. So that was the way it was supposed to happen. And when that did not happen for me, no teacher took me aside. I remember hearing, who was it? I think it was Margaret Atwood, the author of The Handmaid's Tale. People said, "Oh, did your teachers tell you, you were destined to be a writer?" She's like, "No, my teachers would have said I was wholly unremarkable," which I find hard to believe with her talent. However, it made me feel better. So that didn't happen. So I went to college and read other people's writing as an English major and at university. And then I got a job in advertising. And I thought, well, that's sort of creative adjacent, right? Like I'm going to be making you have a background in Laura in branding and advertising. I was like, cool. And I got in and it was just right in the epicenter of all the Me Too horrors, right? It was just an absolutely toxic Fortune 500 company, unfortunately. And I started to spiral. And I don't know if anyone else ever did you got in the relationship, you went to the school, you took the job that wasn't really for you, and it doesn't go well. It does not go well. And so it just things progressed as those things do, to levels. I started really spiraling into a mental and physical health disorder, eating disorder, and I felt like that job was killing me, and I felt trapped. I mean, it's not the truth. I wasn't. It was like, the door was open. I could have left, and I felt like I'm a single woman supporting myself. I have to find a way to make a living. This is the way I can make a living. That's really what was going on. And so I was in the Boston airport getting ready to fly back to Chicago where I was working. And I saw an airport bookstore and like, oh, I just need a book, to escape, to help me, to comfort something. And I didn't have time because they were calling my flight. I didn't have time to read the back of the books or any of that. And I grabbed a book called Holy Hunger by this woman, Margaret Bullitt Jonas. She's not famous. She's not Oprah. It wasn't Brene Brown. It's just this book. And I read it all in one night. And by the time I finished reading, I said, that's it. Even if I'm on the street, even if I have nothing, I am not going to do this to myself anymore. And her story was different than mine, right? Like she didn't work in an advertising agency and have, but she shared about a traumatic experience and what she did to get better. And it gave me something. It was some kind of lit a fuse in me. And I just said, I'm not doing this anymore. And I went and worked on my mental health and my physical health and regained that. And I decided I was going to pay that gift forward. And I was going to, even if I wrote a book and one person read it, I was going to put that book in an airport bookstore on someone's darkest day, and I was going to do it. And that's what was the impetus behind my first book. And when I got incredibly blessed to be able to get on Oprah and published in the New York Times, and these amazing these things that we dream of with a book. Sometimes when that happened, I said, this is what I'm going to devote my life to other people who have this calling to share that story or that methodology or that mission in a bigger way. And I'm going to make sure that they get into the hands of the people that need it. And that's what I've done ever since.
Oh, I love a good story. There's something about those airport bookstores. I don't know what it is. They just have their own vibe where I feel like when you go in, you're in this like magical little forest of like exploration. and I love, you picked what you were drawn towards.
Mm-hmm.
And I truly just believe and have witnessed this a bajillion times at this point between myself and my clients and friends and family. When you just follow that nudge, there's
Right.
something on the other side of it. And it's that book gave you exactly what you needed. And that's the power of writing a book. Like I have full body chills right now. Like that, her story, her gutsy of putting that out there, of
That's
following through, of getting it published, like, and then you happening to be in that airport with that book sitting in that spot. You know what I mean? Like it's just not an accident.
There's no
I will
way.
stand on that hill for the rest of my life.
Ditto. I'm on that hill with you. There's no way. I think the books find us. I'm my new book that I'm writing now, my seventh. Okay, so obviously I'm a repeat.
You know a time or two.
I've been on this rodeo a few times, and the new book's called The Download. So it's really about, I call these moments downloads. Like whether it's finding that book that has the perfect message to move you forward, whether it's the random person you sit next to in the restaurant that suddenly said, "Oh, you should." We've all had these, like you said, Laura. It's like it happens all the time, all the time. These destiny moments, these downloads that come. Sometimes just an intuitive hit comes in. Sometimes it's again a catalyst through an external, like a book or a conversation. But they're here for us.
So good. I want to step back for just a second because you
Yeah.
said something that I think that a lot of women are waiting on, and that is to be quote unquote discovered.
Oh God.
I've seen it with my own two eyeballs, maybe have experienced it myself, where it's like, I'll do the book when blank. I need someone to find me. I need to be better in my career. I need to be a famous athlete or
Yep.
already like a highly paid speaker. Like I have to have
Right.
some sort of arrival moment
That's
before
right.
I'm allowed to write a book.
That's right.
Bust that myth for me.
Yeah, I'm going to bust it right now because actually writing my book when I had no audience and no credibility and no platform and nothing, the book actually was the door opener. I teach there are seven doors that I mean there's more than that, but there's seven common doors that books will open for those of us that choose to write them. And the myth that we have to open all the doors first and then write the book. We can do it that way. Of course, there's people that first, develop the speaking career and have the viral TEDx talk and they do, sure, you can do it that way, of course. But you can also write the book first because what the book actually does, what writing the book does in my experience, and I've coached, over 1,000 people on their books at this point, is it actually invokes our next level. It actually helps us become the next level version of ourselves. What I mean by that is in the mastery of our content. I have people who've been practitioners of their work for like 20 years, and then they write the book and say, I never imagined to feel this level of confidence, of mastery. Because you're spending the time writing it down and formulating it and curating and organizing it in such a way, especially the way we teach, the book process where you're putting the puzzle pieces together of your movement, right? Of the transformation that you're here to deliver to people in that process. So you become embodied of your work in a way and of your story in a way that we just don't if we haven't written about it. That's why people give, for better or worse, if they hear you've written a book, they think you're an expert. Whether we think that's appropriate for people to believe or not, it is a credibility marker. It is a way that people who are seeking a solution or inspiration or entertainment or whatever it might be say, oh, you're the person because you wrote the book on it. And so there's a literal and metaphorical component to that. The other thing is, again, about what writing the book does for you if you aren't known yet and you aren't a celebrity and you don't have 1 million followers on Instagram. The book is the door opener for you to go speak more on your topic. The book is the door opener to collaborate with other people in your industry, sometimes who are if we put people on a hierarchical level, which I don't, but if we're doing that in society, if someone with a bigger audience or a more established platform, because you wrote a book on something and can bring value through that, you'll open doors to kind of step skip into maybe those bigger podcasts or, again, conferences, other types of things. And again, you're going to find the people who you could never reach otherwise. Right. So the book actually becomes the way you become well known, whatever those markers. So this is the game I like to play. You write down everything you think you have to be before you can do the book. And then flip it to say the book is my way to those things.
Oh, okay, I'm just gonna sit with that for a second.
It's a mind bend.
Yeah, that is deep and good in so many ways. That's the way that you become those things.
Yeah, it's the portal.
Yeah. You mentioned that it opens 7 doors. I feel like I've heard a few of those
Right.
here in what you were just saying. Could you share what are the other doors that it
Right.
opens?
So we talked about, right, it opens the door to inspiring and educating on something. So you're each listening, you, Laura, have you have your own unique genius, your way you approach. We're all writing on topics that many people have written about and spoken about. There's 8 billion people on the planet at this point or more. We aren't doing something wholly new in terms of a category, but we each have our unique take and our unique spin. And so one of the things, the first door it's going to open is you're going to inspire and educate people in a new way of looking at something or new way to do something, right? So that is a huge motivator for most of the people that I coach, because we care very much about the people we serve, and about the greater legacy that we're going to build. So that's one. Then certainly speakers are people who've written a book are chosen to speak 80% more and paid 80% more than those who don't have a book, even if you're an incredible expert with, many, many decades under your belt. So open the door to speaking, open the door third to like media and podcasts, right? Often you and I both host podcasts. It's fun to have an author on because you have a reason, to talk about what's in their book or, a particular nugget from the book. You've got speaking, but podcasts and media, strategic partnerships. I mentioned that a few minutes ago, right? There are people you might love in your industry, and there may not be a real easy way to connect with them, but with the book, it's like, hey, I could bring to your audience this. I could be part of your event in this way. I could, come together with you and we could collaborate in some way. Here's my expertise, right? It puts you on a level playing ground in that way that sometimes can feel more hierarchical about audience size, right? So we talked about that. The next one, so what are we on 5, would be being seen as the go-to person in your industry. This is back to the book will be the way to do that list. I need to be the go-to person and then write a book. Or you write the book and it helps you be seen as that go-to. This is crazy. I love neuroscience. So the attention span right now in the United States for adults is 2.9 seconds. That's what we've done because of this. This is what we've reduced it. We've whittled and dissolved it down to about 2.9 seconds before we're distracted. But the human brain will process a book cover. They'll process your book cover in 1.8 seconds. So in 1.8 seconds, someone says, oh, Laura does this. She can help me. She's my person. She's credible. Boom. So you break the attention span barrier, which opens the door to the next, on our list, attracting ideal people to work with, right? Like really that's number 6, like attracting your dream clients, which generates revenue. And then finally, transforming lives. No big deal. Just stuff like that would happen to me in the bookstore. Just saving someone's life. No biggie. Just that woman sat down and wrote her story and it saved my life. Just she can, I've never even met her in person and her book saved my life.
Wow. So many great things. Have you ever reached out to her? I'm curious.
You know what? I have this fantasy or a vision or whatever I want, a download of, I love documentary style content. And I have this vision of, I have written her a thank you note. It's like, I talk about you all the time when I tell this story. I probably went to her team or something, even though she's not a big famous person, but I have this vision of bringing a camera crew of course, with her permission and rolling up, going to wherever she lives in, I don't know, Massachusetts or something. And then actually getting to like do a sit down, like how Oprah would sit down with someone in the big comfy chairs and just like, what was going on when you were writing the book? Did you almost not write it? What were your fears? Because look, she was, I think at that point, like a middle-aged, woman who probably had all the same things I hear in my own head and that everyone I've coached ever. Why should I don't have time? Who am I? I'm not a celebrity. Who would read this? There's other books on this. Why bother? What's unique about my story, right? She had all the same stuff that we all have. And she wrote it anyway.
She wrote it anyway. Oh, gosh. I can see that happening for you, by the way. It's just a matter of time.
That's what I love. But to be fair, I've never actually written to her and said, hey, can I come bring a camera and come and meet you and film this? I didn't ask her yet. So that'll be you're writing, you're thinking about your next steps. I'm going to, I'll put that one out there for
I was going to say, I think that might be one of your next gutsy moves, my friend, because
I'm doing it after this, Laura. I'm doing it.
I love it. I love it. So I think that, every woman that's listening to this right now is listening because they're on the verge, right? They're either already writing it or they're getting that pull and all those noises and the voices and all those sayings are getting really loud. The next natural question, how?
Right.
How? now
I
all of a
know.
sudden, okay, now I'm in, right? I
Right.
think I can do this. I've got an
Right.
idea.
Yeah.
I've gotten past the thoughts far
Yeah.
enough for me to do something, but
Right.
now I'm like, I've never done this before.
Right.
What
Now
what do I
what?
do next?
It's like I've got a cursor, not old school anymore, but like kind of blinking on a Google Doc. Like, what am I supposed to write? Yes. So we want to take what I believe in is taking away the blank page. That's just something that I'm really excited to do for people because the blank page or screen in our case is terrifying because you just sit there and look at it. Like, how am I supposed to, take my whole, methodology or my life or whatever? So before we get to that, I like to take away the blank page by doing two things. The first is when I was procrastinating from writing, which I have done a lot, I decided to reverse engineer 100 New York Times bestsellers. And I'm not recommending anyone do it. I did it for you. So none of you have no, you don't get to do that fun
You
procrastination.
just casually, like
Just for
dissected
kicks,
100 books.
just for kicks, decided I went and looked, what are these books that people love that became huge bestsellers that are really credited as books that changed lives? Like, what did they all do? I was looking for those common denominators. And what I found is they all did three things. And I called it the SSS. This is a framework that I teach to all our clients, and I'll share it with you all now because you'll get it really quickly. And once you get it, you'll start seeing it in almost every nonfiction book you read. It's really fascinating, right? So the first S is your story. So often we want to give people the data, the teaching, the stuff, but for someone to want to trust us enough to take the rest of the ride, they need to know that we've been somewhere and come out somewhere that they can relate to, right? And so this is your origin story of why you do what you do, that's inspired you to write the book you're writing. And a lot of times people think, oh, it needs to be, Eckhart Tolle having a psychotic break on a park bench and, Brendan Bouchard having a near-death experience. And it doesn't have to be that. It's having someone know on a heart level, because story bypasses that skeptical intellect brain and gets us into our heart, into our soul. We're like little kids, like, oh, it's a story. And it helps someone understand they can trust us as the author. They can trust you. So I tell sometimes the analogy of I went whitewater rafting with my family once. It was a complete disaster. We were the worst. We got in a huge fight. Three sisters, my parents had a massive screaming fight on the river. It was awful. Everyone else like, God, that family. They should have sent us to therapy, not the whitewater rafting. But what the reason I bring this up is that the guide, like before I haven't been before or since, but when you go whitewater rafting, you go into there's a little cabin, and we all went in. The family's going on this day trip, and this guide comes in, and his name was like Jack, and he had like a 5 o'clock shadow, and he had the work boots and his flannel shirt. And he says, "Hey guys, very soft spoken. I'm Jack. And I'm going to be your guide today. I know people say whitewater rafting can be very dangerous, which it can, but I want to assure you, I've been on this river since I was 5. My dad taught me every turn, every rock. I have never, ever had an injury on my watch. And we're going to have a great day together. And I'm going to, take you down the river, and we're going to have a wonderful time." So we all got in the boats, right? You're going to trust Jack because Jack's been on the river since he was 5, and he knows the crags and, things he's never had. Like, this is what we do in the first S. We get to share who we are, where we've been, that we know something about whatever we're going to teach and share in this book. And we make people feel confident. And I always compare, if Stan from Wall Street had walked in that cabin with like cocaine powder on his nose and a slick back Wolf of Wall Street hair, he's like, "Dude, I've been up all night. I've never been whitewater rafting, but I heard it's dope. Let's go." We are not getting in the boat with Stan. We are going with our hot, nice Colorado, beautiful Jack, who's just, we know is going to make a safe and lovely ride for us, right? So the reader needs to know that too, right? So that's our origin story. Batman's parents are killed behind the movie theater, and he grows up to fight crime in Gotham City. That's the first S. And it includes your story, but also the cool, and you said it's okay to swear, the cool shit you've done around your topic. Like, people want to know. I had a client who had taught at Harvard, and she was like, "Well, I don't want to put that. I don't want to tell anyone that's like bragging." I was like, "You're writing a book about the brain and, like neurofeedback. I want to know that you've presented this at Harvard. That actually makes me very excited to read your book, whether that's appropriate that we give more power to, but let's not hold that back. It's for the reader. It's not you bragging. It's the reader needs to feel trust, right? That's the first S. Second of the three S's is what I call the situation. So this is where we zoom out and we've told our story, but then we zoom out and we want to sort of say, hey, look, in Mike Michalowicz's book, Profit First, for example, he tells his story about being an entrepreneur, making all this millions of dollars, keeping none of it. His marriage is in crisis. His health is suffering. His kids hate him because he's never home. And he tells this story, right? But then in the situation part, next chapter of the book, right, he zooms out and says, hey, by the way, I'm not some loser. Like 80+% of entrepreneurs never keep any money. They have no profitability. This isn't just me. This is an epidemic. And I don't want that for you. And then we kind of twist the knife with the stakes. That's still part of that second S. What are the stakes if someone doesn't take the rest of the journey, doesn't go down the river with you, right? Because what Mike Michalowicz says in that example is, hey, it's not going to get better. You could make $8 million a year. And if you still don't know how to be profitable, you're going to still keep none of it. And your marriage is still going to be you're going to get a divorce and you're still going to have health problems and your kids still won't talk to you. So he has to give us the stakes. Like it's not just going to fix itself in the ways that you think, oh, a few more years or no, none of that's going to help. You actually have to have a new system. And then that brings us to the third S, which is the rest of our book, is the solution. So we've set up our story. We've been there. We can help them through. We've set up the situation, what's going on in the world. And now with AI, I don't let AI write my books. I do not. But I love using the AI to expedite the book writing process. You tell the AI to go out and find you every cool statistic, study, news story on your topic. And you use that in that second S to bring this landscape to life and let people know the lay of the land and that they're not alone. And that used to take a lot of research, and now it happens in 2 minutes on, ChatGPT or Claude or whoever you all like to use for your research, right? But that is now lightning fast. And then your solution is if you have a methodology that you teach clients, if you have steps that you reverse engineered from your own process that you've done, if you have a 12 weeks that you coach people, and that can be 12 chapters. If you have a 7 steps, roadmap, those can be 7 chapters. Like this is, this is where you all know your stuff, right? You're going to put the journey that you're taking the reader on into that. And that can be woven and ideally is woven with your story, more stories, more experiences you've had, people you've helped, not in like let's take a commercial break and hear a testimonial, but just beautifully woven in. But I'll tell you that the SSS took away the blank page for me, because I can sit down for a few minutes and write my story. Like I know what I've lived. That's not so scary. And then I can have AI pull a bunch of statistics and write about those in the situation. I can do that, right? My solution, this is what I live and embody. Or maybe some of you are going to do what I'm doing in this current book that I'm writing, and you're creating a whole new thing that you're both discovering and learning and writing about at the same time. That's cool too. Right. But either way, we're not then just staring at his Google Doc that's supposed to be 200 pages and going, what? We're like, oh, I can just tackle this. I can tackle this here. And I call it story banking. Before you're even writing, I just open up a file on my phone with the name of my working title of a book idea. And I just start to, while I'm walking around, like, oh, I'm going to add this. Oh, that's a quote I'm going to use. Oh, that's an anecdote. Oh, that's a client experience. I think that would be really compelling here. So we're never facing a blank page. We can go to our story bank and just pull one of those suckers out and say, I'm going to set a timer for 10 minutes and I'm going to write. And I don't have to figure out the rest of it. I can just do that next piece.
When you're growing a business, do you know what people just don't talk about very often? It's how complicated everything feels, how many decisions that you have to make, this like evaluation of, is this the right thing? Is this not the right thing? Is it the right time? Is it not the right time? Is this the right idea or is this completely stupid? Things get messy, they get complicated, and then we lock up. You stop moving, you're walking around in circles, and meanwhile, that you're made for this next level of growth. It's just, how do I get there? This is one of the primary reasons that female entrepreneurs join Auraline, to simplify what feels complicated. Sometimes that's a lot of ideas. Sometimes it's the back-end systems and processes that support your ideas. And a lot of times it's the noise that your brain is feeding you. Auraline is kind of like that same feeling when you've had a necklace that's been tangled for months and you finally pull that one piece, that one right way, and it all unravels and you get to wear it again. That's what Auraline feels like. Because in Auraline, you finally get to move again. And this time you get the results that you want. If you're feeling a little curious or you're like, nope, that's exactly what I need, you can go to LauraAura.com/mastermind to get going. That's the key right there. I don't have to do the rest of it. We get in this, if I'm writing a book, I need to do the whole thing
today.
Today.
It's the 50 pounds in 1 week. I got to lose 50 pounds this weekend. No, that would be very unsafe and horrible for your body and not possible. No, we get to chunk it down. Yeah.
Yeah. It's part of that, the expectations that we put on ourselves, or this fear of being behind or losing the idea. I think that that's a very real thing as well. Like I want to write, we want to write, so we have to do it all, but I can't do it all. So therefore I'm not going to write it all.
Exactly. And it feels, we get into that very binary, thinking. The other thing, not doing it alone. So again, the myth of the writer is the room of one's own, the cabin in the woods. Like, look, I'm a mom. I run 2 businesses. There's no cabin in the woods. There's no retreat. There's no, I mean, forget it. Like it is not going to happen. And I felt like, well, then I can't do a book. And so I teach what's called the writing wedge. Essentially, you look at these pockets of time that you normally think, well, I need 3 hours, or I need a day, or I need a weekend. How about 20 minutes? I wrote 4 of my 7 books in never more than 30-minute increments. I just didn't have it.
Wow.
I didn't have any time. This book that I'm writing is so much more research driven. It's new material. It's not something, I'm not taking what I teach and putting it in a book, which is faster. So this book did require a lot more of a heavy lift. That's my choice, right? But it doesn't have to. And so I think that's the other thing, is busting the myth of our time, because none of us have time. Who the hell has time to do, you don't have time to do anything, let alone write an entire book, right? And I think not doing it alone. So the myth is it's this solitary thing, but writing is a team sport. No idea book writing is a team sport. It is, it turns out, right? And so that, for me, it took having a writing coach, having an editor, like those things really helped me, just like getting a trainer at the gym means I paid, I'm going to show up, I'm going to lift harder. That's very same principle at work. If I've invested and someone's waiting for my next 20 pages, like, I've made a commitment, I've booked something on the calendar, I've invested in that. Like I gotta do it, versus thinking I'm gonna write this whole book by myself when I've never done it before. It's like the best people in the world, the best athletes in the world immediately get the best coach they can. The best musicians in the world immediately best coach they can. So I didn't want to. I didn't want to spend the money. I didn't want to have someone see that my work sucked. I just didn't want to. But bringing someone in earlier than later, I can't tell you what a game changer that was for me.
I love the analogy with the athletes and the musicians, but even just going to the gym, like, when you commit to something and you've put money into it, let's be honest.
Yeah.
There's just something about having that accountability that, I'm not just letting myself down if I don't write these 10 pages today. I've got somebody that I have to report into.
That's right.
And sometimes we just need that. We need that pull. And even in the moments where it's like, I don't even feel like doing this. I was watching one of your reels earlier where you're like, I get distracted. I don't feel like writing. I'm uninspired. I don't feel motivated. So what do you do in those moments when it's like, I so want to do this, but like, I just don't feel like it's there?
I love this so much because it happens all the time. And Stephen Pressfield, if you've heard of him, Laura, anyone listening, he wrote a book, a real teeny little book, little snippets called Turning Pro, I believe is the name of it. And I reference it because he says something in there that I experienced also, and he just articulated it really nicely. And he says, people who aspire to be writers they write when they feel motivated. They write when they're inspired. They write when they feel clear. They write when they feel ready. They write when they have time. He said professional writers just write. You just do. So you make a commitment. So I had to go from having it be an intention, like writing. I have an intention to write a book this year. I have a vision of writing a book this year, to making it a non-negotiable. It was a commitment. I had to go from intention to commitment. And again, for me, that involved having accountability with someone other than me. But there might be those of you that are much more, much more disciplined and able to follow through without that, right? And that's such a different energy when we are committed to something. And what that means is, I used to, I wanted the candle. If I'd had a fight with my mom, all these things could throw me off. Versus, I've committed to 3 pages today. I committed 3 pages, whether I write them at 5 a.m. or 1 a.m. if I don't get off my butt and I watch 5 shows, and then the 3 pages are happening. I can choose when they happen. I can decide, and having that commitment, again, for me, involved like having someone else know that commitment for me and with me. But that is it takes away all the, do I feel like it? Am I motivated? Who cares? You're just going to write. Because what happens often, just like with a workout, the body, the whole entropy idea, right? The body that's going from nothing to motion takes so much effort, versus motion, a body that stays in motion, staying in motion, right? We know this from science. So it applies here too. So I just got to, I could put myself in motion even if it's hard and I don't feel like I think it'll be. So just a fun trick. I commit to writing the worst 3 pages that have ever been written. Okay. It's a game. You just say to yourself, it's cool. Because a lot of times the reason we don't want to start is we think it's going to be hard. We don't know how to say what we're trying to say. Maybe it's not going to be good. So we just take that off the table too. Just take it off the table. Yep. These will be the worst 3 pages that anyone has ever written in the history of writing since we were painting on the caves of Lascaux. This is the worst thing that ever been created. You start laughing at yourself. Stop taking it so seriously. I just say, all I need to do is put the words on the page. Because often if I get rolling for a few minutes, I'm like, oh, I'm sort of in it now. I'm sort of going. It's just that awful dead stop to motion that feels like it weighs 1,000 pounds.
Oh, absolutely. And it's so wild because I don't know about you, but I come up with all kinds of stories.
Let's hear some of your best. Like, do you have any really creative one that, because I bet we've all done a version.
Oh yeah. Well, it's just like okay, the other day, right?
Yeah.
I needed to record solo episodes for the Gutsy podcast.
Yeah.
I love this podcast, by the way.
Yes.
It's not one of those, oh, I have to do it. Oh, I really fucking love this podcast.
Yeah.
My brain was like, it's going to take so long. I'm not motivated. I don't have enough energy.
Yeah.
I don't really know what I want to say. And I talk to myself a lot.
Ditto.
And
big fan.
I've learned that sometimes I have to be a little bit mean with myself.
Mm-hmm.
And not in a demeaning way, but in a like, get your shit together, Laura. So like I stood up and clapped my hands. It was like, Laura, just go fucking do it. Okay.
Yeah.
If you do this one episode,
yeah,
then you have the rest of the day. Like we could sit here and mull over it for the next 2 hours, or we could just be done by then. And exactly as you said, I came down and I was like, I sat at my desk and I'm like, oh, I don't know what I want to do. So I'm like, what can I do first? I can turn on my mic. Okay. I can put on my headphones. There's something about putting on my headphones that puts my body and my mind in a zone. So it like, I think I've done it enough now that it activates like, hey, we're about to talk. Right. So then I'm like, I can open a Word doc. So I open the Word doc. I can open my software where I record, right? And I just start taking these individual little moments and I get out a piece of paper and I start writing. Listen, not only was a phenomenal episode, but then I was like, I can do this and this and this. And I knocked off like 3 or 4 other things off my list. And then I like my energy was so pumped up and it's like, damn it, why do I do that to myself? Why do we do this to ourselves? Because it's so much easier just to do the damn thing.
Just to do the damn thing. I made a reel one time to illustrate this exact point. I didn't want to go take these supplements that I'd committed to taking because it's just, and again, the most idiotic reason. Oh, I don't, they're big. I don't, it's cold. The water's cold. I don't want it to, it feels, I mean, the stupidest. And so I film myself in real time. Like I have to just record. This is so insane. I'm going to out myself on this. And so I
Please.
recorded myself in the time that I spent thinking of the reasons I didn't want to do it. I could have already had taken, I could have taken the supplement. So I kind of did a side by side comparison of, and now they're just done and they're in me and they're doing their thing and let's move along with our day. Right. And you even love your podcast. I love my book. And why do I not want to write? Because there is a piece of us that's just lazy AF.
Yeah.
It's just, and I don't say that in a mean, judgmental way. I'm just saying there's a part of me that wants to consume, not create. Because it's easy. It's passive. I can sit on I want to watch someone else's awesome documentary. I want to read someone else's awesome book. They already did. I don't want to write today because I have to face just uncomfortable feelings in myself, or like you said, it could be hard. And that is just the undertow of kind of our own mediocrity, our own part of us that's a saboteur, like Jung would call it the saboteur. We could call it the inner critic. I call it the gremlin just to make it funny. And so that's it. And you did it anyway. And then I bet you felt like $1,000,000 the rest of the
Oh
day.
my gosh, I did. I had so much energy. I felt so much better about my confidence was through the roof. Like mine, I just had a phenomenal night. And something that I have found that this is fairly recent for me because, committing to writing a book as I recently have, it just requires you to embody a different version of you that has not yet existed.
That's right.
And
It's identity.
so it is so much identity work. Holy bananas, Batman. Like it just requires you. I'm like, how would the woman that is holding this book in her hand show up today? Because she sure as shit is not sitting on the couch
Right.
about everything. Oh, it's gray outside. Yes, it's gray outside. It's fucking Pennsylvania in February. Okay. This is not new. I've been here my whole life.
Right.
So I've really learned, like, I have to ask myself, how would the version of me that already has that, what decision is she making today? Because
So good.
the only way that she's going to be able to show up is if I start showing up as her right now.
That's exactly right. And you're talking because identity drives behavior, right? This is back to we embed brain-based, practices into all our work. And people think, I came here to write a book. I came here to give a TED talk. I came to you for thought leadership. Why are we talking about identity? Well, because exactly what you just said, the person, if we align with the identity of the person who's the best-selling author, the speaker, they're not wondering if they should go write. They're just like, oh yeah, I write books, plural. I give talks, plural. It's not a discussion. We take the unworthiness conversation. We take the am I good enough conversation. That's all off the table because we're already operating as that person. So you did that so brilliantly. And I even record for our clients like hypnosis, like at night, things people can go to sleep to that instill that identity. Because remember, our brain is wired for safety, which it equates with who we've already been.
Yeah.
It is not wired for success. And so we rewire intentionally. We get to rewire our brain for the vision, being a published author, whatever that next level is for any of us. Like that is, so I actually let that happen at night. That's a habit stack. James Clear talks about habit stacking. Like I'm sleeping anyway. I'm going to just inundate my subconscious with this new identity. I love to write. It's fun to write. I'm inspired. I see progress every day. There are people touched by my book. We're just embedding that in our subconscious mind so that we start eroding that resistance.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
this is another really crazy one. It's called pleasure bundling. I don't know if you've ever come across this, but I write about this in my new book. It sounds dirty, but it's not. Maybe more fun if it is. But basically, what you do is the first part of it sounds like just behavioral cognitive therapy, right? You think of the thing that feels hard, like recording your podcast, writing the book, and you make a deal with yourself that there's something you love that you do for pure joy and pure pleasure. And you get to do that thing right after you record the podcast or right that day. Okay. So could be, for me, it's like a walk outside because I love that. It could be a favorite food treat. If that's, something you love, it could be talk with a friend, like just something you watch a show that you just totally binge, whatever it is, you pick the thing. And in the beginning, like I said, it just feels like we're conditioning, right? We're saying you get a treat if you do the hard thing. Fine. But here's what was cool. in Johns Hopkins, when they studied this, they actually saw people's neural pathways changed, and they started to look forward to the thing, not just the reward.
Ooh.
So you can actually start wiring your brain. If you think the sleep thing's weird, you don't like that, you can rewire your brain also for motivation, for clarity, for success in your waking hours by pleasure bundling. So yes, you'll have the do the thing, get the treat at first, but then you're going to actually start to like the and I just think that is insanely cool.
Our brain is so fascinating. I mean, we could have a whole half day marathon conversation around the brain and what we are actually really truly capable of doing. I mean, it's insanity. Sara, I'm obsessed with this conversation. I love what you're doing. I want to make sure that everyone knows where they can connect with you. So what's the best place to find you?
Absolutely. So if you're on Instagram, you can DM me anytime. I love hearing book ideas. I love hearing like if you're stuck, we'll get you unstuck, whatever you need. So that's just at, and I'll spell my name because I'm Sara without an H. So it's SaraConnell. So at Sara Connell on Instagram, you can DM me. We have a YouTube channel with tons of support. Some of those fall asleep playlists. We've got all that for free on YouTube. It's at Thought Leader Media. Welcome to be there, but DM me if anyone wants to just like give me some motivation. I want to do my book. I'm so there for you guys.
Fantastic. I will link your Instagram in the show notes. And if I'm not mistaken, you've also got a 7-step to write a revenue generating best-selling book offer.
Yes. So we have a roadmap, and this is our gift to all of you. If you're sitting here going, I know I have a book in me, or you've started the book like Laura has, and you're just like, it'll recap what we did today with that SSS structure, but in more detail, and also offer some alternates because not everyone's like, that's the exact framework you want to use, right? It's just, those are the notes you want to hit. And it also even gets into then, how do we get an ROI on the book? Because we didn't talk about that today, but I am adamant that those of us that spend the time and the money and pour our souls and our hearts into doing a book get a return on that investment, that those doors do open, that you do generate revenue. And so it'll start to, that roadmap is going to point you in the direction of what you need your book to do in order to set yourself up for a true ROI.
Fantastic. Again, we'll link that in the show notes, so make sure that you grab Sara's amazing resources that she's sharing with us today. I got to know, my friend, what does Gutsy mean to you?
Oh my God. Gutsy is doing the thing. Laura, you said it. It's doing the damn thing. It's taking the supplements if that's the next right thing for your health. It's recording the podcast if you know you're here to change lives with your podcast. It's sitting down to do that. That is the thing that takes the most guts, because we confront ourselves, all the lies, all the limiting beliefs, all the fears, and we realize, like Eleanor Roosevelt so beautifully said, you must do the thing you think you cannot do. And you can and you will.
Man, don't you just feel like you can write a book now? Like Sara just made that feel so approachable. I might be a little biased here because I am in the process of writing a book, but it just energizes me to think about, you can take lived experiences and your knowledge and you can package it up in a way that it supports somebody else. And that part about reconnecting with your work and going deeper into the knowledge that you have and reconnecting with those parts of you is so true. That's really happening as I'm writing this Gutsy Moves book. So, you know what? If you want to follow that process a little bit further, LauraAura.com/book. I'm documenting behind the scenes. I'm making an experience out of this. And if you're writing a book, you know what? We can encourage each other along the way. I'd love to hear what you are about to write about or you are actively writing about. So come find me on social media. Send me a DM and tell me what your book is about. My handle is @thatLauraAura. And as always, until I see you next time, stay gutsy.